The dying slave lay screaming. The day was unmercifully hot. The other slaves went about their work, ignoring the sound as much as possible. Life in the work camp was cheap, and it did no good to dwell on the fate that awaited so many. The dying man had been bitten by a really, a snake-like swamp creature. Its venom was slow-acting and painful. Short of magic, there was no cure. Suddenly there was silence. Pug looked over to see a Tsurani guard wipe off his sword. A hand fell on Pug's shoulder. Laurie's voice whispered in his ear. "Looks like our venerable overseer was disturbed by the sound of Tofston's dying." Pug tied a coil of rope securely around his waist. At least it ended quickly. He turned to the tall blonde singer from the kingdom city of Tiasog and said, "Keep a sharp eye out. This one's old and may be rotten." Without another word, Pug scampered up the bole of the Nagagi tree, a fir-like swamp tree the Tsurani harvested for wood and resins. With few metals, the Tsurani had become clever in finding substitutes. The wood of this tree could be worked like paper, then dried to an incredible hardness, useful in fashioning 100 things. The resins were used to laminate woods and cure hides. Properly cured hides could produce a suit of leather armor as tough as Midkemian chainmail, and laminated wooden weapons were nearly the match of Midkemian steel. 4 years in the swamp camp had hardened Pug's body. His sinewy muscles strained as he climbed the tree. His skin had been tanned deeply by the harsh sun of the Tsurani homeworld. His face was covered by a slave's beard. Pug reached the first large branches and looked down at his friend. Laurie stood knee-deep in the murky water, absently swatting at the insects that plagued them while they worked. Pug liked Laurie. The troubadour had no business being here, but then he'd had no business tagging along with a patrol in the hope of seeing Tsurani soldiers either. He said he had wanted material for ballads that would make him famous throughout the kingdom. He had seen more than he had hoped for. The patrol had ridden into a major Tsurani offensive, and Laurie had been captured. He had come to this camp over 4 months ago, and he and Pug had quickly become friends. Pug continued his climb, keeping one eye always searching for the dangerous tree-dwellers of Kelewan. Reaching the most likely place for a topping, Pug froze as he caught a glimpse of movement. He relaxed when he saw it was only a needler, a creature whose protection was its resemblance to a clump of Nagagi needles. It scurried away from the presence of the human and made the short jump to the branch of a neighboring tree. Pug made another survey and started tying his ropes. His job was to cut away the tops of the huge trees, making the fall less dangerous to those below. Pug took several cuts at the bark, then felt the edge of his wooden axe bite into the softer pulp beneath. A faint, pungent odor greeted his careful sniffing. Swearing, he called down to Laurie, "This one's rotten. Tell the overseer." He waited, looking out over the tops of trees. All around, strange insects and bird-like creatures flew. In the 4 years he had been a slave on this world, he had not grown used to the appearance of these life forms. They were not all that different from those on Midkemia, but it was the similarities as much as the differences that kept reminding him this was not his home. Bees should be yellow and black striped, not bright red. Eagles shouldn't have yellow bands on their wings, nor hawks purple. These creatures were not bees, eagles, or hawks, but the resemblance was striking. Pug found it easier to accept the stranger creatures of Kelewan than these. The 6-legged Nidra, the domesticated beast of burden that looked like some sort of bovine with 2 extra stumpy legs, or the Choja, the insectoid creature who served the Tsurani and could speak their language, These he had come to find familiar, but each time he glimpsed a creature from the corner of his eye and turned, expecting it to be Midkemian only to find it was not, then the despair would strike. Lorry's voice brought him from his reverie. "The overseer comes."